as the market uncertainty increases, customer loyalty is going to go down. And you say, well, why would you say that? Well, you can go look at the stats, but let's just take that out for a second. Let's just talk human to human. And here's the deal. When things get tight, we all do this to a certain extent, unless you're super wealthy and you just really don't care. But most people, especially the people that you're selling to, your customers that you want to have on your payment plans or membership or subscription or SaaS product or whatever it is, businesses in general, what people do is they start rank ordering their subscriptions, and literally they'll look at their bill. I'm actually doing this tomorrow with my bookkeeper. We're going through a personal and we're just looking at all the subscriptions, because sometimes you just get involved with stuff, or you buy some software, or you do some program or whatever, and you're on a subscription and it's not enough to really care about or think about. It kind of flies under the radar. And so when you have that kind of thing, there's just a natural rank ordering that happens. Now, they may not sit down and write it down in order, but here's the thing that happens is that they have like an issue with the credit card, which is what we deal with at Gravy. And they have, boom, their credit card fails. And they're looking at this again going, is this worth it? Should I rebuy basically what it is? And even if they're on a payment plan to you, when the economy goes bad, when the recession hits, when things don't feel like they should, when CNN and Fox News and all of that have big red arrows showing down, even if they owe you money, they still will be harder to get them to pay you money when there's a lot of fear in the economy and there's a lot of uncertainty. And so the loyalty level goes down just because things get tight. And the number one thing that goes up is fear. And when fear goes up, people start pulling back. They start taking chips off the table. They start saving. They start conserving. And that's just the natural human way that we react. And so the question is, how do you counteract that? And how do you, instead of survive in a market downturn or a market uncertainty, how do you thrive? How can you become a leader? And so we went back and looked, and I went through just a bunch of businesses that I've been involved with from a consulting level. We went and looked at some articles from the 2008 crash, and we started looking at like what sectors and how people won, that actually won during some of the worst economic times. And some of the things that we found were pretty interesting. And so there's 3 things that you specifically can do when the market conditions feel uncertain, and you do these for your customers. And you can be the leader and win with your customer base without changing your entire business up. And so these are 3 slight tweaks that I think can make a big difference. The first thing is this. Number 1 is be the guide. Be the guide. And you say, well, what does that mean? It means teach your customers why and how to leverage a recession or a downturn, no matter what your product is or whatever your business is, to talk about it, to create an open conversation. They're already thinking it. You might as well have a conversation with them anyway. And so to provide content, to provide training, to provide thought leadership, to just share what you're thinking about it, but be the guide that before people get into massive fear and they let your payment plan go, you can be the person that's providing the content and the person that's providing the value to share with them how they need to view the market when it goes down, how they need to view the uncertainty, and how they can take advantage of it by using your product, by staying with it, or being the person that they go, I don't want to leave that. I don't want to leave the value that I'm getting here. But you got to be the guide. You got to be out front. And you got to be talking about it first, and you got to be talking about it often. So that's number 1, be the guide. Number 2 is this. Is be available. Increase availability. Now you say, well, what does that mean? Do I have to talk to every single one of my customers? No, that's not what I'm talking about. But providing more opportunity to have more access, to have more phone calls, to have more webinars where people could call in and ask their questions and voice their concerns, to give more access, or even perceived access, or even in a Facebook group or whatever, where you actually get in there and you actually are with the customers. And what we found when we went back and looked is that the people that got in it with their customers, the people that had conversations, not people that just kept doing business like they thought nothing was happening in the world, but they actually took advantage of the uncertainty. They wrapped it in a package, and they said, I'm gonna walk through this with you, but be available to your customer base. That is a huge thing, to be able to listen, to hear their fears, to feedback, and that gives you the message so that when you're the guide, which is point number 1, you can lead them along the way. And the third thing you want to do is be flexible. So when it comes to customers and it's a down economy, be flexible in your terms and your plans. And as so many people say, well, you're on a 12-month payment plan, it's $97 a month, and this is what you owe, and you've got to do. Well, that's great, but what if you did $50 a month and you extended the payment plans out and they were able to pay that? Be flexible in your payment plans. Give people deals or options, and you don't have to sell your revenue short. But here's the deal: I'd rather get some revenue back and rather get some things than just being hard headed saying no. This is the deal and this is the only way. So relooking your pricing and your pricing options during a down economy is something that's very important, especially when you're hearing back from people. We work in the failed credit card industry. So when there's a credit card that fails, we're hearing from people. We just passed over 2.5 million interactions with people. And one of the things that we found is just by listening, and if they give us some term that would work better, if it works for the business, we found that we're able to keep so many customers, and those customers then stay, they're happy, and they're willing to buy more. But having that focus to be flexible with your payment plans is very important in a down economy. So those are three things that are actually major things. They seem like minor things in the short video, but they're major things that if you become the guide, you start speaking about this in advance, and you become the person they listen to, they're going to stick. If you become the person that's available, they feel like they can get to you, or they feel like they can get to somebody in the business and have a conversation. And then number three is the flexibility that, like, we listen and we have grace and we're going to work with you with your payment plan and terms. And so that's what you got to do. When uncertainty goes up, the customer loyalty goes down. Get ahead of it now.